Hello YouTube, Robert Alvarez, the Psychic Witch, and no fan tonight. Lighting, yes. I want to talk about a few things that have been going on with me lately. But first, I wanted to give just all of you a brief synopsis of what this video is going to be about. So, this video is going to be a check-in video, meaning that I'm going to update you on what's been happening in my life lately. And it's also going to expand on a decision that I made recently that is nothing less than divinely orchestrated. So, first, let me reassure those of you that have known me for years and years that my physical health is good. I continue to be compliant. Actually, and for those of you who don't know, I had what I call a divinely orchestrated stroke back in August of 2012. And I call it divinely orchestrated because back in November 2011, I had given up on romance, I had given up on sex, I had given up on love, and essentially I had given up on life. The divinely orchestrated stroke banished that state of unbeing, that state of existing, back to the nothingness from whence it came. And I can honestly say that for the most part, I am happier, I'm physically healthier, I'm certainly emotionally and mentally and psychologically healthier, and I'm more at peace with all of life, for the most part. There are days when I am not at peace with all of life, which is bringing me to the next part of this video. So, this year, what's left of it, 2015, which, as per the divine message I received from Goddess, is the year of taking it to the next level, I began to notice that some of my metaphysical classes were canceled. Now, for several years now, I've had a minimum acceptable required number of participants, which means that if I lead a group metaphysical class, for me to know that it was a wise investment of my time, my energy, and my money, that means that that class must have a minimum of 5 participants. Now, about last year, if I'm not mistaken, 2014, what I began doing was doing something that a lot of other metaphysicians and professional psychics and light workers do, which is I charge more at the door. And I used to resist doing that because I always felt that I needed to set myself apart from other metaphysicians and light workers and whatnot. And then I got over that bullshit because I'm like, you know what? Other people are doing it, and there's nothing wrong with me doing it, so I started doing it. So with my group metaphysical classes, essentially I was charging $40 for those people who pre-registered, whether they would send me the payment to either my PayPal.com or my Google Wallet account, and they would use either a debit card or a credit card. And of course there are some people that I know that live in the New York City area that wanted to pre-register in person with cash. And I never had an issue with that. That was like, you know, I'm like, listen, it's okay, I have no issue with that, whatever. So I began charging $40 for those who pre-register and $50 at the door. So this year, I canceled quite a few classes. I canceled the Divine Prosperity event that was scheduled earlier this year. I know that I canceled my very first metaphysical event on prayer. I canceled the Divine Love Healing event that was originally scheduled for Friday, May 8th of this year. It was rescheduled for Friday, October 16th of this year. And the main reason I canceled these classes was because the minimum acceptable required number of participants wasn't met in each one. So back in, I think it was sometime in June, I was divinely directed and divinely guided and divinely inspired to begin sending broadcast emails every week of upcoming metaphysical events. And I would do that with my email list. I would do that on Facebook. I would do that on Google+. I would do that using my WordPress blogs. I would do that with Twitter. I would post flyers in different places in and around the New York City area. And I would do all that. And the turnout for the Divine Prosperity event that I led on Wednesday, July 29th was excellent. It was outstanding. And then I noticed that after sending out broadcast emails for the Divine events that were originally scheduled this month, nobody had pre-registered. And I felt very frustrated, and I felt very aggravated, and I felt very angry because, I'm not accustomed to canceling events. Actually, you don't know. But for those of you that do know, you know that I'm not accustomed to canceling my events. And I basically made it crystal clear on Friday, and that was Friday, October 9th. Today is, it's after midnight, so it's now Wednesday, October 14th. But I made it crystal clear that if the minimum acceptable required number of 5 participants for each event is not met, I will have no other choice but to cancel these events. Now, when I had my divinely orchestrated stroke, I didn't realize it was divinely orchestrated until weeks, even months after the fact. But with my divine events that were originally scheduled for this month, I knew that there was a divine orchestration taking place. And in spite of the affirmations and the spiritual decrees and the denials and the prayers and the blessings and the petitions to various celestial beings, including but not limited to goddesses, gods, angels, and saints, I knew instinctively that this wasn't going to take place. That these events were not going to have the minimum acceptable required number of participants, and they were going to be canceled. And that's exactly what happened. I felt very frustrated. I felt very angry. I felt more frustrated than angry. And I began blaming the people that said they were going to pre-register and then didn't. And specifically first-time participants. And specifically people that said, well, if you make this a live streaming event or an online event, I am so there. Well, where the fuck were you? So I realized that this divine orchestration is one that was needed because it made me aware of a level of divine discontent that I really didn't realize I had. In fact, I'm going to say that I was oblivious to this level of divine discontent. So what I did was I sent a broadcast email to the people on my email distribution list, and I informed them that these events have been canceled. So the Divine Love Healing event that was originally scheduled for this Friday, October 16th, 2015 from 6 to 9 p.m., that's been canceled. The Divine Prosperity event that was scheduled for Tuesday, October 20th, 2015, also from 6 to 9 p.m., that was canceled. And my Psychic Self-Defense class, which was scheduled for Tuesday, November 10th, 2015, also from 6 to 9 p.m., that too was canceled. That I canceled more out of frustration, but in spite of people knowing about it, no one had pre-registered for that event, even though I had previously stated, you can pre-register for this event now. Because if it's officially scheduled, and the location has been set, and I already know the room number, like when I use Ripley Greer Studios, then yes, you can officially pre-register for it. It's not like you have to wait for me to say, okay, you can do it now. If I say you can do it now, you don't need to wait weeks or months or days. You can pre-register like now. And that's, so in spite of that, no one had pre-registered for that as well. And again, I'm not blaming the people that are regulars. I'm not blaming anybody at this point. Before I made this video, I took a very long, relaxing shower. Well, actually, it was getting close to midnight, so it was a quick but relaxing shower. Used shampoo, used a wonderful lavender body wash, which is very unique in that it is made with a combination of Bulgarian lavender and French lavender. And I normally don't encounter any products that contain both. And there is a distinctive difference in the smell. I personally find Bulgarian lavender to have more of an earthy scent, whereas French lavender has more of an airy scent. I believe chemists and those who work professionally in fragrance would refer to it as a top note. But it made me more relaxed. Of course, before I do any YouTube video, I always pray. And of course, coffee. I find coffee very relaxing. I remember years ago, you know, I would, especially when I was younger, I would hear all these adults around me say, "Oh, well, I can't drink coffee past 4 p.m. It'll keep me awake all night. Oh, I can't have it past 3 p.m. I won't be able to sleep." And I remember thinking, what utter nonsense. I'll sleep whenever I want. And you want to know something? I've gone to bed and slept peacefully before having a cup of coffee. Unfortunately, or fortunately as the case may be, I programmed my mind a little too well. Because now I will have a cup of coffee and I will start to yawn. The reason why I haven't yawned so far during this video is because the shower woke me up. And I'm wearing a fire red long sleeve pullover. Strangely enough, I'm not sweating like a pig because every time I wear red, it raises my body heat level to the point that I sweat, regardless of the weather. It could be 10 degrees outside. I'm wearing this, I'm going to be sweating. It doesn't matter if I'm wearing it by itself or if I'm wearing the coat over it. But yeah, so the fact that I have all this red on me and I'm not like dripping is quite a surprise. So what I decided to do was take a sabbatical from several things. In 2016, which as per the message I received from Goddess is the year of divine completion, I am not going to lead any group metaphysical classes of any kind. I'm not leading my very third Goddess course. I'm not leading any divine prosperity events. I'm not leading any divine love healing events. I'm not leading any psychic self-defense classes. I'm not doing any of that. That's number one. Number two, I am not participating in any metaphysical, magical, or mystical classes, workshops, seminars, courses. I'm not participating in any group healing workshops. I'm not participating in any healing modality training workshops. I'm not participating in anything like that. And number three, I'm also not participating in group ritual. And frankly, I prefer being a solitary witch. I prefer being a solitary practitioner. It works very well for me. And I think that at some point I am going to make a video on solitary magic. Because I think that is a topic that is not discussed enough. And I think that in spite of this being the 21st century and Wicca and paganism and ritual work and spellcraft and magic being so common as opposed to occult these days, especially in the 21st century, the internet age, the United States of America, etc., 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 there is still this, what I find, this disdain for solitary magic. And, you know, I've had some wonderful, beautiful, powerful, and sacred experiences in group ritual. And I have had some wonderful, beautiful, powerful, and sacred experiences in solitary magic. What I prefer, what I will say right now, is one of the things that I love about solitary magic, which will always have me choose solitary magic over group ritual, is that there is no politics involved in solitary magic. And that is very important to me. I am quite frankly, very anti-politics. If I see, and I've been receiving emails about presidential debates and things like that, and I can honestly say that it has added to how much time I spend deleting emails. Fortunately for me, I have learned to use the control key and the left key of my touchscreen mouse pad, which would be the left click on a mouse, to delete large numbers of emails in a short amount of time. But yes, I've never cared for the politics that seem to accompany group ritual and Wiccan covens and magical groves and things like that. I am an initiated companion of a magical grove called Grove Argentum, which I love. It is a Manhattan-based chapter of both the Druid Clan of Dana and the International Fellowship of Isis. And through having been an outer court member for more than a decade, and through having been an initiated companion for 3 years and counting, I've met some great people, I've learned a great deal, and I have expanded my magical awareness and my spiritual consciousness, not to mention my psychic consciousness as well. But I've seen so much over the years on Facebook, in person, in articles, in newspapers and magazines and things like that, that make me want to choose Solitary Magick over group ritual all the time. But I digress. What I have decided is I am going to make more time, I'm going to continue making time for cultural events. Those of you who have read my other WordPress blog, This Gay Man's Life, I have written a few posts about a place called the Bureau of General Services Queer Division, which is also known as the Bureau for short. It is one of the few queer book and art spaces in Manhattan, and it is in essence both a queer bookstore and a queer art space, and Manhattan doesn't have a lot of those. Those of us that are of a certain chronological age, such as myself, remember places like the Oscar Wilde Memorial Bookshop and A Different Light, and these were wonderful resources. I miss them. I often make myself feel guilty for not having spent more time in those places, and I can honestly say that I miss them both very much. I miss going to Manhattan, which is a stone's throw away from where I live, and going to either one or both of those bookshops in one day. I love the Center City section of Philadelphia, and I love that Philly AIDS Thrift purchased Giovanni's Room, which is now Philly AIDS Thrift at Giovanni's Room, and I love that I can go there and purchase books written by various members of the LGBT community, as well as purchase knickknacks and thrift store clothing and things like that. And I'm happy that it's still in existence. I'm happy that an LGBT organization in Center City, Philadelphia was like, listen, we cannot let this resource die, and resurrected it. But I don't often get the chance to go to Center City. I've been to Center City, I think, 2 or 3 times this year. It's one of my favorite places. So far, it's the only section of Philadelphia that I've visited, but it makes me very happy. I love going there. I have the places that I always go to when I go to Center City, and now I've begun to expand my consciousness to manifest a few days of a stay, because I think it's time. I think that after going to Center City for more than a decade, I think that I owe it to myself to treat myself to going there for a few days, or even a week, who knows. So with regards to going to events at the Bureau of General Services Queer Division, I'm always going to make time for that. It is very important to me to support them and to do as much as I can to support them because they do so much for the LGBT communities, especially in the New York City area. And I also love going to cultural events. I've rediscovered how much I enjoy going to cultural events, and for the longest time I've held the belief that this country, and specifically American society, really doesn't honor the arts as one would find in, let's say, France or Italy. That's my experience. Granted, I have yet to visit France or Italy, but there seems to be this distinct lack of appreciation for the arts in the United States of America. Please feel free to correct me if you disagree with me. And if you agree with me, please feel free to let me know. I feel more at peace now about this decision than I did when I first made it on Monday. Monday I was very depressed. And although one could argue that that was 2 days ago, some would say, well, it's not yet sunrise, so it's still yesterday. But I was very depressed about this, and one of my favorite metaphysical authors is Louise L. Hay, and in her book, in several of her books, but specifically You Can Heal Your Life and Heal Your Body, she writes that the mental pattern that breeds or that leads to depression is one feeling as though he or she does not have the right to feel hopeless or angry. And I must confess, I was feeling that way. I was feeling that I had no right to feel hopeless and that I had no right to feel angry. But you know what? I was completely incorrect about that. I had every right to feel that way. However, I can honestly say that I feel much better. I feel more relaxed, I feel more at peace, and I felt this way before the wonderful shower with the Bulgarian and French lavenders. I know some of you are thinking it's the coffee and it's the lavender. No, not just that. It's a combination of things. It's also a beautiful email that I received from somebody that I hold in high esteem, who is one of the few people that when she is unable to participate in my metaphysical classes, it bitches me out. I still remember the first time she told me that she couldn't come to one of my classes, I almost cried. That's how fabulous and how wondrous her energy is. That is how amazing she is. And now it's like when it doesn't happen, I'm a little more okay with it. I don't cry, but I'm still like, man, coño, as we would say in Spanish, which I'm not going to translate because it would require me saying some words that might get bleeped out. You never know. But in any event, I am more at peace with this decision, and I am looking forward to deepening my magical journey, deepening my sacred journey, deepening my connection to my primary, secondary, and tertiary pantheons. I'm looking forward to spending more time at home. I'm looking forward to more journal writing, more reading, and I'm looking forward to reclaiming a sense of personal power and divine peace. I don't know what else to say about this decision. It is going to unfold how it unfolds. It is going to unfold naturally. I know that I have a client who's been using my psychic services since September 2001, which some people call 9/11, as in the 9/11 World Trade Center attacks. And she usually has a private prosperity class with me once a month, sometimes once every 2 months, depending upon her schedule. So I'm going to continue making myself available for her and for the other people who avail themselves of private metaphysical classes with me. I actually have 3 regular clients who avail themselves of private prosperity classes with me on a regular basis. One of them recently felt that it was time for her to increase her frequency of having private prosperity classes with me. And another one, I've known her for several years. She's a lovely woman with lovely energy, And what she does is she has a private prosperity class with me in honor of the anniversary of her sobriety. And that's just the first time that she approached me about that, I was in awe. I was utterly in awe. I was like, wow. It just blew my mind, like, wow. And it was just a huge honor for me, and it remains a huge honor for me. And the irony is that she always gives me gifts every time she does this. I remember one of the first times, I think it was the very first time, that she'd had a private prosperity class with me in honor of her sobriety, in honoring the anniversary of her sobriety. She had given me this bundle of white sage from the Southwest. I forgot if it was, I think it was Arizona or New Mexico. I don't remember offhand, but it was definitely the Southwest, and I loved it. It had it had this clean, fresh smell, and I had never smelled white sage from the Southwest. I had always, smelled California white sage, and so it was a nice change of pace to smell this fresh, clean, unprocessed southwestern white sage. It was like wow, and it's naturally grown. One could actually make a tea from it, and I remember she said that one of the medicinal healing properties of white sage is that it ails stomach problems, which fortunately for me I do not have. I don't remember the last time I had indigestion, which is a very good thing because, as I often said in late 2012 and pretty much all of 2013, stress is a killer. So I love the fact that and it's funny because, being the witch that I am, I'm very familiar with many of the magical properties of herbs, but I promised myself 1 or 2 years ago that I would start learning the medicinal healing properties of herbs. So that she shared that with me made me very happy, and she didn't know consciously that was a commitment and a promise I made to myself to learn the magical healing properties, the medicinal healing properties of different herbs. I know that some people might be very upset about this decision, and they might feel slighted. That wasn't my intention. It wasn't my intention to inconvenience fellow professional light workers and psychics and metaphysicians. I simply felt that I needed to do something different. And those of you that know me know that I'm very, very big on following one's divine guidance, and very, very big on being mindful. And I'm going to wrap up this video because it's almost half an hour long. But one of the things that I was not divinely guided to do was to raise my fees. And I've said this for years and years. I am not going to raise my fees unless I'm divinely guided to do so. And that is something that I stick to. I don't care if I'm short on the rent. I do care, but what I mean is I'm not going to charge a client more money because I have a car payment due or because my electricity bill is due. I'm not going to do that. That doesn't feel right for me. I was also not divinely guided to raise my minimum acceptable required number of participants. So I thought to myself, okay, I'm not divinely guided to do A. I'm not divinely guided to do B. So I need to create something. I need to do something different. And I'm doing this because in some tarot decks, the Lover's card is an allegorical, actually in most traditional tarot decks, the Lover's card is an allegorical representation of Adam choosing between Eve and Lilith. And I remember one time I was giving a client a reading, and I mentioned that the client is a sun sign Virgo because the Lover's card in the Sacred Tarot corresponds astrologically with the sun sign Gemini. Both Virgo and Gemini are ruled by Mercury. So I remember I was looking at the Lover's card in the tarot deck that I was using for this client's reading, and I began seeing a path in the middle of the card. And I'm going to say that I saw it clairvoyantly because it's not on the card. But I remember looking at it. I was like, and I remember like I put my face, like, let's say this is the card. I did this. It was like, oh, okay. So I knew that I was seeing something that was not physically there, but it was psychically there. And I said to him, I think you need to choose a different path. I'm getting the divine guidance that you need to choose your own path. And after I decided that neither option A nor option B were going to work for me, and mainly because I didn't feel comfortable acting on either option A or option B, nor was I divinely guided to choose either one, I thought to myself, okay, you know what, I'm going to choose something different. And it reminds me of one of my favorite Native American medicines, which is wolf. In the Native American cosmology, the wolf represents teacher, pathfinder, and creator. And I've always felt that wolf medicine is about creating a path where there is none. So I felt I needed to create a path. I needed to create an option C. And option C was what I described in this video. A, not participating in group ritual. B, threefold. Number one, not participating in group ritual. Number two, not participating in anybody else's workshops, classes, seminars, etc. And number three, refraining from leading group metaphysical classes. And this will be for all of 2016. I do not feel that I'm going to make exceptions for anyone or anything. It's possible. It would have to be something really fucking good. If it's somebody who lives, let's say, in, South Africa, and this person is coming to the New York City area for the first time ever, and may not be back until 2020, then I might actually participate in... hold on, I see one of my cats, like, I'm going to knock something over. Okay. Alright. That was Isis, the alpha female, by the way. Durga, the kitten, is over here, and Korea, the calico's over there. You can't see them, but that's fine. Okay, Isis. 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 She's bathing herself and grooming herself. Isis, please don't knock over. Mira, chica, conmigo. Oh! Isis! There's a reason why she's the alpha female. Anyway. So, yes. So, yeah. So, if it's that kind of a situation, I might. But I feel like I need to spend more time at home. I need to reconnect with my introverted side. I need to go deeper within myself. And I'm very okay with this. I feel more comfortable with this than I feel more comfortable with this now than I have in the past 48 hours. And that makes me very happy. I'm not accustomed to being unhappy. Let me rephrase that. I'm not accustomed to being unhappy anymore. I'm not accustomed to being depressed anymore. I'm not accustomed to being frustrated by life anymore. So when those situations arise, I feel like, what the fuck do I do? Because I'm not accustomed to experiencing that. There was a time when I was accustomed to feeling frustrated and feeling depressed and feeling angry and feeling that the universe damn, I can't. You know what I mean. Anyway, so, I've grown accustomed to being happy, to being healthy, to being at peace with all of life. And when something interrupts that, it's like, what do I do now? Because I'm really like, I don't know how to handle this. Because I've grown unaccustomed to feeling those negative, disempowering emotions. All that being said, I know that this journey is going to be... Actually, this is what I believe. It's not what I know. I believe this journey is going to be rocky. But that's not the truth. And that's not necessarily true as I would be inclined to say if somebody else said this in my presence. What I do know is that it is an adjustment, and it's a readjustment. And as of 2017, which is the year of whatever it's the year of, I'm going to begin a new cycle of wondrousness that is going to be phenomenal. And we'll see what happens after that. I don't know if I'm going to make videos updating people on how's it going for me, how's it flowing for me. I may or may not. What I do know is that I'm not going to make a habit of, well, this is how I'm feeling today, and doing that. What I feel is I'm simply going to go through this journey, and if I feel divinely guided to give all of you an update on this journey as it unfolds, I will happily follow that divine guidance. Besides, there are other videos that I would like to make. It's been a while since I have done a book review video, and even earlier tonight I thought to myself, you know, there are some really great goddess books that have served me very well over the years, and I have not talked about them. I might do a compilation, instead of, like, let's say for example reviewing one goddess book per video. I might say, well, these are the goddess books that have served me very well, and talk a little bit about each of them. There are other tarot decks that I want to review. There are other divination decks and oracle card decks that I want to review. And of course, I also want to talk about other things. You know, I'm really enjoying creating YouTube videos, and I'm enjoying it more than I ever thought I would. And frankly, you know, I hadn't even thought of making YouTube videos until I began learning about Owl Moon 513, Avalon Spiritual Odyssey, which I'm very happy I didn't call it Avalon Spiritual Journey again. And of course, one of my favorite YouTubers of all time, Ember Honeyraven, the Big Fat Witch. And remember, she calls herself that. So don't call her the Big Fat Witch. Her website address is thebigfatwitch.com. She calls herself that, even though she's not as big and fat as she used to be. But anyway, thank you, YouTube, for watching this video. Thank you for honoring who I am and what I do. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your suggestions. And for those of you who have availed themselves of my psychic services, thank you for honoring who I am and what I do. And for those of you who are going to use my psychic services, thank you for honoring who I am and what I do too. And I wish you a beautiful night. I wish all of you many blessings, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.